Meeples on Meeples, episode 39. I'm Adam.
Andrew.
Brian.
Ian. Before we get into our game of the week this week, we'd like to welcome you over to our website, www.meeplesonmeeples.com, as well as our Facebook page, facebook.com/meeplesonmeeples, and over on YouTube, where we put up all of our videos. You can subscribe to our account over there and be informed when we put a new video up every week.
This week's game of the week is Airlines Europe. It's basically a stock game. You're not really choosing a color. I mean, there are purple and brown and yellow and blue. You can see some of the airplanes out here, but you're not a color. Instead, you're owning stock in any colors that you play. There's a pretty complicated setup that the booklet would walk you through. We're not going to go through all of that, but basically just know that you can always buy from the stock market, and you have stock options in your hand. You don't score for anything in your hand. You have to play it in front of you in order to actually score. So at the beginning of the game, you have 8 cards. You have to choose 2 different colors, meaning 2 different airlines to own stock in, and you place them down in front of you, so red and yellow. Now, as the red and yellow airlines expand on the board, they'll move up the score tracker, and since I have stock in them, there's a chance I'll be able to score victory points for the end game win. The more stock you have, the more points you'll get. We'll explain that as we go on. But basically, each color plane has like a hub city. Okay, so Frankfurt for yellow. You start with no planes at all on the board. And so let's say I wanted to expand.
Set those up really nicely.
They did look pretty. You expand from the hub city. And whenever you buy, there's several different routes connecting to the next city. So from Frankfurt to Berlin, there's 3 options. That means 3 different airlines can take that flight path. If yellow's the first one to go, you always buy the cheapest route first. You start with the lowest number. There's a 4, 5, and 6. So if I wanted to build a 4, I would pay 4 million euros, and I'd buy a flight plan. So now yellow connects to Berlin. And then I can expand from Berlin. And basically you can keep going out across the board. And every time you do buy one of those, like 4 million I said, then yellow moves up 1, 2, 3, 4 on the score tracker. And the further it is on the score tracker, the more points it's worth in the 3 scoring rounds. 3 of these cards right here, that look little stock tickers, will come up at some point randomly from the draw pile. When that comes, you freeze where everything's at, and you see where the airline is, and you score based on that points. Like let's say yellow is right here. Whoever has the most yellow cards laid out in front of them for the group gets 2 victory points. Whoever has the second most will get 1, and then 0 for 3rd place. But the numbers do get bigger as you go down, so you can even have 4 or even 5 people score sometimes for some of the airlines. Some of the airlines have a lot of planes. Yellow only has 9, so it's hard to expand and make yellow big and worth a lot. Whereas the red has 13 planes, black has 11. You get the idea. The nice thing is on your turn, there are only 4 actions you can take. You choose one of the 4 things. So, Andrew, what's option 1?
First option is you can take a plane, and then you put it here, and you pay this one in particular 5 million. It's in millions,
it's in million euros. Yeah.
Million euros, and then that connects you to this hub here, and then you can do 2 during your turn, and then once that's over, this is 5 cards that are laid out, and you can pick one and put it in your hand.
Or you can draw from the draw pile too.
And there's drop out, which we don't have set up.
So that's option 1. You can lay up to 2 planes. They can be different colors. Option 2 is you can play some of the stock that you have an option in your hand and put it in front of you so that you officially own stock in it. You can do as many of the same colors possible. So let's say I have like 4 red. I can lay all 4 red down because they're all the same color. Or you can do 1 of each 2 different colors. I could do like 1 black and 1 white. It's either all of one color, as many, unlimited, or 2 cards of different colors. And then you get 2 million euros for each card you laid down. And that's how you build up your bank so you can continue to buy flight paths.
Your third option is you can actually burn either 1 common stock or 3 common stock to get Air Abacus stock, which is it's a specialty stock, I guess. The only way you can
Is it reflected on the board? Exactly.
Yep. The only way you can get it is by burning 1 of the common stocks for 1 Air Abacus, or burning 3 common stocks for 2 Air Abacus. And they have their own actual score tracker over here on the side of the board for each round, 1, 2, 3, as a breakdown of what the points are for that one. So the person that has the most Air Abacus in the 3rd round gets 16 points. It can actually really help build up your score at the end.
That one can be a major game changer.
And you can also burn out of your hand or what you have.
You can do 2 from here and 1 from your hand.
That was the one that I didn't 100% realize, but you probably told me 5 times. So the last option really is very simple. You just take your 8 million from the bank, and then but try not to bankrupt the bank because it really upsets the game.
Yeah, and that's how you get the extra money, which you'll need.
If you feel you don't have a good move or you don't have any money to buy a move, 8 million, my turn's done. It's pretty slick.
Well, and isn't it every time, say I have this card in my hand and I lay it down, don't I get 2 million for that?
Yeah.
Anytime.
So if you have, if you lay 2 down, you only get 4. But say you have 5 of the red and you lay it down, you get 2 million for each card that you lay down. That's another way to earn.
It's pretty
money.
hard to rack up a whole handful of red though. That can be, of one color, but yeah, you can do it that way.
I've done it a few times where I've laid down 4.
About the only thing real quick on the board is there are these little rectangles where you put specialty cardboard pieces out. If you connect orange from the orange hub city down there to London here, you get bonus points that'll move it further on the victory tracker.
An extra 6 points. And the whole point behind that is orange, there aren't many planes for it, so to get it all the way across the board like that is hard to do. So you get a special bonus if you pull it off.
Should we go into components then?
Sure.
This one has a lot of components. We'll start with that. There are tons and tons of airplanes.
I'm a big fan of the airplanes. I would have liked maybe some variety, but you know what? I'll let it go. The fact that they have the plane.
The airplanes are actually very detailed. You see the little windows and everything, but that would have been awesome for each color to have a different style of plane. I agree with that.
For the $100 board game. Yeah, enthusiasts out there.
$200.
Some of the colors are very similar.
If it's coming out of Brian's paycheck, worth it.
Yeah, the colors, I'm going to agree. Go ahead, Ian, and what were you going to say about that?
The colors are very similar and they kind of blend together for me, but of course
I don't have any gray. The gray and white are very close.
Gray, white, and black. I mean, there's just a very little difference between all.
The brown as well, I actually thought was the gray the first time we played.
The brown actually has kind of the stock ticker color to it, so it's very...
Yeah. It does have a gray undertone to it. So some of the cards are hard to read. Now you can read the name of the airline and see the number at the bottom, which does help you differentiate. But it's the color. I mean, come on. The orange and red planes are really close too.
Yeah. So when you're filling up the board, they can get confused really, really easily.
Yeah. The artwork is drab.
I don't know. I kind of like it. It's easy. It makes it easy to read. You can tell this is Europe.
It's a map.
Wait, this is Europe?
Yeah. It's called Airlines Europe?
Well, obviously the blue stuff is the land, right?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Buster.
Are you sure this isn't Middle Earth?
So I don't have a problem with the board.
No, I mean it works for what it is, but it maybe make it more fun. I don't know. A Ferris wheel here or there.
They got the numbers. Yes. But even the small things, like the thing for Paris has an Eiffel Tower picture on it.
That's not in Europe. That's in Vegas. We all know it's in Vegas.
Well, okay, but Athens, down in Rome has the Colosseum on it, and
you got all these different landmarks.
The landmarks, things like that, to kind of
Athens and Greece.
It's Greece.
Rome.
We'll let that out.
The card quality is actually.
I'm not a cardologist.
We're just gonna stop there.
Hey, come on! I know the blue stuff's the land, so don't worry about it.
The card quality is actually really nice. It's kind of like a nice casino playing card type. It's got the texture, the plastic coating, that type of stuff.
It's interweaved is what it looks like.
Is that what it is?
I don't know, but that's what it looks like.
So that's the new technical term we coined.
Cardologist over there.
I think overall, all of the pieces feel like they hold up very well. The board is really solid and sturdy. The plastic pieces obviously aren't going to come apart. Though I do have one thing I do not like in the money is paper money. It is like literally super thin Monopoly paper money.
I would have rather had them be like cards.
I thought we weren't allowed to use the word Monopoly in any
coins would have been cool.
Well, you already got the coins for the victory points, though. These
true.
Guys, which is kind of confusing.
But no, I really like the components, and if you can kind of move the top out of the way, the tray itself is really well set up. There's a compartment for each different color plane, and you can really kind of while playing, you can use that as the draw.
Yeah.
You can just leave everything in there. That's what we usually do. Instead of having piles around the board like most board games, like form a pile here and here and here, you can just play straight from the tray. It is that well designed, so that's pretty slick.
How about strategy for this one?
Oh, I loved it.
Not strategy. I give it a 10. Oh, strategy.
The great thing is that if you can get one of the smaller... What I did for one of the games was I actually started investing in all of the smaller companies, like the 7 and the 9, because they have the bonuses. So if you can get them quite a bit ways up there, most people are just going for try to get in there where people don't have cards, and then try to monopolize on it, where everybody's like, he's just going to run the board on that, so I'm not even going to try.
I think Ian and I, in one game, both laid down 2 oranges right away, and within 2 rounds, we had orange all the way across the map and got the bonus. Orange was already up in the 30s and 40s over in the score tracker. So I mean, if you can work those small airlines early in the game, you can get a lot of bonus points.
And that's something to keep in mind is you're not just since you own stock in the company. That's why everything, by the way, has to be laid out in front of you so everybody can see who has what as far as stockholders go. But you are benefiting other players. I had some orange thrown down too in that game, and I wasn't really investing in orange because you guys were just rocking it across Europe, and I was like, I'm benefiting from this. So you have to keep that in mind if you want to make sure that if you really are going to invest that much money in one airline, you better have more of that stock than anybody else to get the points.
My strategy on, as I found out, what I would end up doing is actually on option A, your option of buying a route and or two. What I ended up doing is I held off with the second route, kept my money. I just buy a low end route and then pick a card, and then that way I was collecting stock and I was laying it out as fast as I could in order to collect. Now, I may not have been the top tier person on any of the routes, but I was always second, and I was also keeping people from actually getting their top route because I was able to collect enough stock from the thing and
get it out of the pool,
get it out of the thing, and put it in my play area, which I would end up benefiting.
On the other spectrum, though,
it does work to let other people play for you. It really does.
Yeah, but there's in each route, it starts like the one from Paris to here over to Rome. It says like 3, 4, 5. Well, if you put this one on here, you spend 3 million. The next person has to spend 4. That also denotes how far it goes up.
Yep.
So if you can be the last person, you spend 5, and you know that you have the most of yellow, it'll go up 5 more.
That was one of my strategies. I picked a color not a lot of people were going for in the last game we played. But then I also would pick the route that had the most expensive route I could every time I played. So I would, even though nobody else was going for it, so I was working on my own. I was spending more money, but I was moving my tracker up a lot faster.
Well, that's smart to do on something like white that only, I think that's the smallest one.
Yep.
There's 7 planes. You don't want to buy a bunch of 3s because you're not going to move up the score tracker at all. At the end game, white's going to be down here and it's only worth 6 points. You want to hold off until people buy the 3s and 4s. I want to only get 5s or 6s or 7s.
White does have a bonus option in order to pick it up, though.
It does too, but that's not enough to offset a bunch of 3s. If that's all you're doing is the cheapest route every time. You want to spend your planes wisely.
Mine wasn't that. I was playing off the fact that you were all playing big numbers on the different routes and all the different colors. I was just gaining stock in it in order to make sure I had what you had. And also,
I noticed. And I was tied for every. I was so mad.
I tied a lot of people that game, and I did very well.
I actually thought your strategy that game was just to mimic Ryan.
Yeah, I really thought you were just looking over like,
some games. That's all I can do is mimic
rubbernecking.
So,
any other strategies that work for you guys in this?
I did do where I got every color, even if I only had 1 card, because we had enough players and they were far enough on the trackers that 4 places still gave me points. So even though I wasn't getting anything but 1, it was still, I had 3 or 4 of those, so I got an extra 4 points for not really doing anything.
Yep. After that second marker comes out, you really want to just lay your hand out as much as possible and keep very little in your hand.
I do have one strategy that we're totally overlooking is when you get to, like, say, round 2 and you realize you have a bunch of those 1s that there are going to be a 0 come end game or 1 point only, you're better off to start cashing 3 in for 2 Air Abacus. Because if you come in first Air Abacus that last scoring round, you can get 16 points. If you can be first all 3 rounds, you get 4, 8, 16.
I won 1 game.
You can ditch those stocks that are only going to get you 1. Exactly. Get you 1 or 0, and you can go for that.
Or if there's one that you thought you were going to go in on, and then you realize you just haven't laid planes wisely, that 16 points is going to be higher than most of them anyway. Yeah, not many get this far on the board score tracker.
The only one that gets 16 is the one that gets all the way to the end of the score tracker.
So do not underestimate how much Air Abacus can do for you.
And really, these smaller airlines, you really are never going to get them to the end. I mean,
no, it's going to be hard.
No,
only 2 or 3 the whole game will make it that way.
When we did that orange one, when we got it all the way, in 2 rounds, I think it only jumped up 5 more the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, we kind of blew our wad early on.
All right. Do we want to go into likes
and dislikes? Yeah.
Fair enough. I love the components. I with the exception of the paper money
and the colors.
There's nothing. Again, some of the colors are a little close. I don't think there's a lot I would change quality wise.
No, I wouldn't either.
What do you guys do? You guys think this is a good thing or a bad thing? The fact that you get 1 action on your turn. I mean, there are choices to make. 4 choices.
I feel that helps move the game along quickly. Like if you
I think you
go real quick and then it comes around again, and I don't feel like you're getting screwed that bad by like, oh, I can only do this one thing, and then everybody, because there's not much that they can do to overpower you in just that one round.
I'm going to agree with that. I think you can spend a lot of time thinking just on that one action a lot of times. I think if you give us more than one action, there's a lot of risk of analysis paralysis.
I agree.
Like, you could spend a lot of time on a turn trying to figure out your 2 actions.
What about you? I was just kind of curious what you guys said. I like that. It's just I could do one thing.
And you can get around the
unlike some games where you feel like the only choices available to me this round, they all suck. I don't want any of those things. I guess I got to take the lesser of 2 evils or whatever. I never feel like there's a bad choice. Even when you don't make any progress on the board or on your stocks, you just take 8 million. 8 million, that's a lot in this game, and you can easily buy 2 planes the next time.
Yeah.
I mean, there are no bad choices, and that's kind of nice. You don't ever feel like, oh, jeez.
I'm gonna throw it as
No, that's not true. Because when I was playing brown, I thought it was gray,
Oh,
and I was like,
you get a lot of bad choices.
And I was like, whoops.
Interlocking pieces.
It's all one board. That's another like. It is one piece. That's awesome.
A dislike I'm gonna kind of put out there is on the strategy front, because there is so much. I mean, there's some chance to the type of stock you start with, the type of stock you're gonna be able to get out there, when the score tracker is gonna come out, what other people are going for and what they're playing and how they're playing, that I think is personally really hard to come up with a solid strategy that's going to last you throughout a game.
It does have to change a little bit as it progresses.
Well, yeah, you got to be ready to roll with it, though. I kind of like that. Like, you definitely always have a strategy, and then sometimes you have to figure, like, okay, new course of action, because he's really helping red, and I see an opportunity to get in on this.
I had one game where I literally felt like I was changing strategies almost every time around, because of where I was.
And you lost badly.
No, I ended up in the middle, but I always ended up being like, well, it's not working anymore because Ian bought every green plane that was available. So
I didn't know it was green at the time.
You didn't. Yeah, that's a fair comment. So I mean, it's one of those ideas that you can't go into it like some games, the real thought out strategy. It's really like you said, kind of rolling with it. All right, maybe not a dislike.
Which I like because it just keeps it fresh. It's definitely one of those games that you're always involved in. You're not having a lot of side conversations, and really. When you're waiting a long time,
it's because Ian's playing.
Yes. Wow, but I mean, if you're waiting longer than 30 seconds for somebody to play, that feels like an eternity in this game because it really moves super quick.
It does. It does.
How about on to our reviews?
Okay, our review goes 1 to 10. 1's terrible. 10 is amazing. Where are you at, Andrew?
I'm actually going to give it an 8. I like the way it plays. There's a few things, like I said, obviously the planes would be really neat if they had that different.
Would it be a 10 with the planes?
I probably would give it a 10 with the planes because that would be awesome.
Planes alone make it.
And each card for their, they have their own little symbols, and even the borders for the stocks are designed slightly different. The components are really great. I feel that it plays fast. It was engaging. You always seem like you're pretty close to the next person. There was never really any like domination over the game where you just felt like one person was just rocking it. So I'm gonna give it a solid 8 because it was just I definitely tell people to go out and get it.
I'm gonna agree with the 8. It's you're always in the game. There's always a chance you can squeak by and get the victory at the last minute when scoring comes around. You won't zone out when it's not your turn because you want to see what everyone else is playing because that's going to affect maybe the stock that you want to invest in or whatever. And so it's always nice to have a game that, even a long game, I know it says 75 minutes, an hour 15. Possibly, we played it with, 4 and 5 for the most part.
I think
we went
about 2 hours as an average.
2 hours with 5, and it was a little less, I think, with 4 in the games we played. So 75 minutes, maybe if you're playing 3
players. But all fun games.
But yeah, it was all fun. It plays fairly quickly. I mean, an hour and a half, hour 45 for this game, no problem. It's totally worth it. So
it didn't feel like you were sitting there for an hour and a half.
No, not at all. So I highly recommend it. Solid 8.
I'm actually going to go a little higher. I'm going to give it a 9.
Wow.
I really liked it. I had a lot of fun. I had virtually no complaints about it besides the colorblind aspect of it is. I'm not even colorblind, and I was like Andrew having trouble with the grays and the whites and the browns.
First time I set it up to tell you how close the white and gray are, unless you separate them all out and say here's white and here's gray. I was describing white is gray and putting these cards, the destination cards in the wrong spot because they're just that close. Yeah. Unless you see them side by side and stop and think about it.
The color on the card does not match the color on the plane.
No,
not at all.
Not enough.
Clear enough. Not clear enough.
It's not a big enough distinction. But that's really my only complaint. As I've said in past reviews, I love games where the rules just work, where you're not going back to the rule book and digging through it. We got the rules once in this, and we basically just played. I don't think we've ever really looked back at the rule book to figure out
probably because of some
on.
amazingly well typed up player aids that somebody made. I won't say.
Yes, they're the built-in stuff that's
little tiny
these things. No. Okay, continue.
But it's a great game. I love the planes. I love the setup. It's a high quality game. How much does it cost?
Oh, I don't remember.
What are the ages?
I want to say full retail is probably.
Play the game?
We already have. Full retail is probably
Ages
60.
says 2 to 5. Wait, that's not my play.
$60. I guess the quality kind of shows. You got the nice components, and nice cards besides the cash. But I just had a lot of fun with it. It's a game that you're always involved in, always interacting.
You could use real money.
You could.
Don't.
No. All right, Ian.
I'm going to go with Adam. It is a 9 game. It is a complete package. It was fun to do. The only kind of annoyances were changing out and keeping track of the score on the points. We run out and then we have to change back again. Changing out money, the banker, whoever runs the bank, that's a pain. And the money really is kind of it really blends together as far as what's what. 2 different colors would have been nice. But other than that, the game is fun to play, has a lot of strategy to it, and I enjoy that stuff. So
it is 2 different colors.
Is it really?
Oh yeah.
Are you serious?
It's like green and brown.
The money. I thought you were oh my goodness.
I was thinking like the paper would be like 2 different. No.
We'll get a good component shot of that later.
All right. We just end it there
with the head slap.
That's our review of Airlines Europe. Check our website and see what we're playing next week.